You can see women for your sexual pleasure and be conquered by Satan, or you can see women as your precious wife, with you and her together conquering Satan. We can see this concept of overcoming in the book of 1 John. In the 2nd chapter, he tells us as young men who are in grade school, young men who are in middle school, young men who are not even married yet, and even us older men. It says in the 2nd chapter in the 14th verse, he says, I've written to you, young men, because you are strong, and the word of God lives and abides inside of you, and you have overcome the evil one. You have conquered the evil one. And immediately, he tells you all that's in the world, all that is not of God, not the word of God. He says, do not love the world, nor the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father, that same love that was displayed when he died for me and for you, the love of the Father is not in him. And then he tells you all that's in the world. He says, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. He says it's not from the Father, but it's from the world. The lust of the flesh is how we could see the women, and how even myself have seen women in the past, and even today, my mind gets flooded sometimes with seeing women like that. And what does that do to get you and I conquered? As young men, it causes us to see women like that. And it causes us to desire just to have sex with them. And ultimately, that can lead to having children before marriage. And that creates two homes, typically, where you as a man are now trying to fight financially to support this home, and you're trying to support this home financially. That puts stress on this house with the young lady. That puts stress on this other home. Secondly, it puts a tremendous amount of stress on the child, whose mind has to waver between this home and this home. You're conquered by Satan. Versus if you see women as the wife that God gave you, that's when you begin to conquer. That's when the Word of God lives and abides inside of you, and you begin to conquer with her. So what's our solution? We must encourage, and we must get out that idea, and we must fight for that truth. We must keep this message going, and we must keep this word going out that says, number one, to our young men. Number one, God gave you dominion. In Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28, and Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 to 25. He gave you dominion with a wife. Number two idea that we have to continue to keep out there and to teach our young men and us that we're challenged to love our wives the way that Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. That's the message that we have to get out to our young men. And we have to keep in the minds of those young men. You know, you were young at one time. And you saw that little girl. And you loved her like a wife. But it wasn't until that evil thoughts that Satan puts out into the world that they should look like this. And when we bought into this idea, he took our dominion, threw us into financial stress, threw our children into mental stress. Be strong, black husbands. Be strong husbands, period.